And here in easy pose, we're going to first start with one of my favourite embodiment poses that most of you know, and it is self-care pose. So taking one hand across the body and round the ribs and the other across to the shoulder, tilting the head a little to the side and softening the gaze or dropping the gaze down a little. And really feeling that embrace and that self-love and that hug. And noticing how your body responds to it. And if you are having a frazzled time, remembering to maybe take a moment or two to do something like this each day, just for a little while. You may wish to swap sides. When we're yoga teachers, we do like to come back with a bit of balance. But notice it feels different on each side as well. Notice which side feels more natural. And therefore, if you need to just alter a little and sink into the less familiar sensations. And where do you need this more in your life? Probably everywhere, each and every day. And when you get used to this pose, doing this, you can use it as a micro pose, and in situations you need a hug, you can take the hug without really moving and remember that sensation. Okay, I invite you to come and lie down on the mat. And again, I say invite because everything is an invitation, and anything that doesn't feel right to you, you just skip or do your own version. Stretching out into Shavasana. Legs are long, arms down by your sides, maybe palms facing up. And notice how your body sinks into the floor. And we're thinking, remember, about self-talk and trying to notice if we have any negative self-talk. Sometimes I don't even know I'm doing it. I'm forever telling people how clumsy I am. So if I move to the floor and I bang into something, I immediately explain my clumsiness, instead of recognizing how good it is that I've safely achieved the movement to the floor, clumsy or not. Notice each side of the body and where you have contact with the mat. We are not symmetrical beings. You may want to shift a little. And then just take your feet a little wider, maybe to the edges of the mat, and roll both of the feet to the right, and then both of the feet to the left, and right, and left. And just notice how that sensation feels. And then instead of rolling them both to the right, then the left, mirror image them. So roll them in and roll them out. Notice which you prefer and do that. I think I prefer the mirror image today. Notice the shift in the mat on your heels, but how the whole leg moves and the rotation is coming from the hip. You might get a little bit of movement at the knee, but not much. And then just let them relax. Then do the same with your hands. Roll them both to the right, so the whole arm rolls, then to the left. To the right, to the left. And I just noticed my head wanted to join in. So if your head wants to join in, let it join in. Now my head has decided not to join in because it's remembered it's a bit dizzy. So it wants to be still. And then shift the arm movement to a mirror image, rolling the hands in. So the full arm rolls and out. And in and out. And just notice which is your preference and go with that. Again, I'm preferring the mirror image today. And just pause and notice. And then roll both the hands and the feet. Now you might want to mirror image and do them opposite. Roll the feet out while the hands are in. Adding a little bit of confusion for the brain, which is very good. Any brain confusion is very good for building our brain tissue and growing our resilience as well. But building that connectivity in the brain, especially when we've got things going on opposite sides of the body. Notice if you're judging yourself at all and if there's any negative talk, and try and shift it. Notice how well your body's doing. And then just pause, noticing any shift in sensations. And bring your knees into your chest. You may want to place your feet flat on the mat, lift your hips up and roll your spine down before then settling with your knees into your chest. In Apanasana. And just pause for a moment. And then we're going to have some knee circles. Well, it's actually the hip that's circling. And you can choose here. You can roll them so that the knees are moving in mirror image. See how that feels? You can move them so they go in the same direction. And then the opposite direction. Notice how that tilts the pelvis side to side. Or you can move them in opposite ways, so one knee's moving away and the other's moving towards you. And just change direction if you wish. Notice your preference. Notice maybe a sense of playfulness. And then just pause. Then place the feet flat, lift the hips and take the hips a little over to the right. Bring the knees back into the chest and drop them over to the left. We're coming into a supine twist. Supta Matsyendrasana. Arms out in front and then sweep that right arm up to the ceiling and out over to the right so your arms are stretched out in a T position, and take your gaze over to that right hand. And as you inhale, notice how your body feels and any areas of tension, and as you exhale, just try and soften a little. We're in no rush. On the next inhale, bring that right arm back up to the ceiling and back over to join the left. Push back to center. Place the feet flat and bring the hips back to center and the knees back into the chest. And just rock side to side. And just tune in to how your body feels and if there's any difference one side compared to the other after that. And we'll take it to the other side. So feet flat, lift the hips, take them a little to the left, knees into the chest, knees drop over to the right side, stretch the arms out. Then take the left hand up to the ceiling and then out to the opposite side, stretching your arms out in that T position. Notice where you feel the sensations and if it's different compared to the other side. Have awareness as you inhale and soften a little as you exhale. And just take a couple of breaths here. Then on the next inhale, take the arm up to the ceiling. Exhale, take it back to the other hand. Push back to center. Feet on the mat. Lift the hips and lower them again and bring the knees back into the chest. And just take a little few rolls and circles at the hips and knees again. Just noticing how that feels. We're going to move to tabletop. So you have a choice. You can either gently push up to come to all fours, or take your hands under your knees and have a little rock and roll up and down the spine a couple of times. Just noticing how it feels, and then come to tabletop. Tabletop, Brahmanasana, 4-point kneeling pose. We are going to move into cat and cow because it's a lovely way. I know I do it most of our practices, but it's such a nice way to warm up the spine. So your knees are under your hips, your wrists are under your shoulders. Tilt the pelvis, drop the belly, lift through the chest. Tilt the pelvis round through the spine, chin to chest. And you move through your cow, Tadasana, and your cat, Majariyasana, as it feels good to you. And just rolling through that movement. And being aware, noticing the ripple through your spine, even how the weight shifts in your knees and your hands. And then come to some stillness. And inhale forward slightly. We're going to round down and back to child's pose, Malasana. Come up and inhale forwards, round down and back. And once more, inhale forwards, round down and back to child's pose. You may wish to take the knees wider here. It's up to you if you want them that wide or narrow. If it's comfortable, keep the arms extended. If you prefer, you can take them behind and just sink to the mat. You can use a cushion here for your head if you prefer, or a block. And just stretch out the arms. And in embodiment, this is surrender pose. So in this pose, think what you can surrender to that brings self-kindness and self-care. Is it surrendering to being looked after? Is it surrendering to rest? Is it surrendering to acceptance of you just who and how you are? So allow your body to sink and just notice how you feel. And take another couple of breaths here. Remove your block or cushion, if it's there, and come back to tabletop. We are going to go up to standing, but we're going to go via downward facing dog and a forward fold. If you prefer to come straight to standing, please do, but otherwise, take your hands forward a palm width, so just a bit further forward, and look at your hands, spread the fingers wide, pushing into the fingertips and into the knuckle under the index finger and thumb. This is self-care in itself because you are removing some of the excess pressure from the wrist. Tuck the toes under, hover the knees, send the sit bones back, then up, coming into downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Now, in your downward dog, you've got a kind of upward V shape, an upside down V. Your length in the spine is the key, with the sit bones heading to the sky, and your knees can be as bent as you wish, so play with that sensation. And you can sink your heels to the mat, but not at the expense of that length in the spine. Maybe pedal the feet a little, feeling the stretch down the backs of the legs and noticing if that's a good sensation or not. Not everything feels good to everybody. So just find your downward dog. And pause and take a breath here. And then slowly walk your feet towards your hands to the top of the mat, coming into a deep forward fold. Now you can use a block here if you wish and place your hands on a block. You can even use a table or a chair if it's too deep a fold for you. If you wish, take hold of the lower arm, the opposite lower arm, and hanging in a kind of a ragdoll. But this is your deep forward fold, Uttasana. And in embodiment, it is letting go. So I invite you to let go of your arms and let them swing. And when caring and having kindness for yourself, is there anything you can let go of? Any judgment? Any harshness? Just notice how that feels. Then generously bend the knees. Lengthen through the spine so the spine becomes flat, the back becomes flat, and rise all the way up, coming to an extended mountain, so taking your hands to the sky, or in my case the shed roof, and release your hands and just come into mountain pose and pause and notice how you feel. Our mountain, our majestic mountain pose, Tadasana. Lifting up your toes and spreading them wide and placing them down again and rocking backwards and forwards. And this is a good point to have some centering. So with awareness of the space around you, how you're standing, how you're breathing, the space in front and behind, to each side. And visualize roots down through your feet into the earth, supporting you. Rocking backwards and forwards and side to side and finding your balance. And centering ABC, awareness, balance, C is core. So we're trying to soften the core in this instance. Soften the gaze and the eyes. Soften the jaw. Maybe we wiggle it a bit. Soften the shoulders, soften the belly, and another C, connection, bringing to mind someone, maybe that person you thought of earlier, the person that makes your heart smile, and just notice how that makes you feel. Then come back to the top of the mat. We are going to have a very, very gentle variation of Sun Salutation C. So, feet traditionally are toes together in our mountain pose, but I prefer mine hip width apart. I find it more comfortable in my lower back. So your choice for you. As you inhale, sweep the arms up and overhead, reaching to the sky, taking the very, very slight back bend there, but not pushing too much. Engaging the glutes, so squeezing at the buttocks. And then on the next exhale, soften the knees and coming back into that deep forward fold. All the way down to the mat, using a block if you wish. And while you're there, just remember that letting go. And think of anything that you need to let go of. Then the right foot is leading, so place the hands on the mat and send the right foot back. Drop the right knee and uncurl the toe. The left knee is above the left ankle. And we're going to rise up into a low lunge. So take the arms up into a low lunge, just sinking the hips a little, as much as is right for you, into your low lunge. And breathe. Release the hands back to the mat. Tuck that back toe and send the left foot back to join the right. Now we're coming into a plank, but I encourage you to come into a half plank and drop the knees instead. You might need to move your block out of the way. You might need to move back a bit if you're going to bump your head. But your knees are not under your hips here, they're further back. Keep your elbows tucked into the body. Shift forward slightly and then lower down to the mat. And pause. Your hands are under your shoulders and we're going to come into a cobra. But first, I'd like you just to visualize it and not move. So hands under the shoulders. Visualize as you inhale, lifting the head and the chest a little. As you exhale, lower. This time we're going to come into a mini cobra, so a third of what your cobra might be. So as you inhale, lift a little, pushing the hips down into the mat, engage the glutes. As you exhale, lower. We'll do one more, a half cobra. So you're not straightening the arms or anything like that. As you inhale, lift about half of your cobra. As you exhale, lower. And then we're going to tuck the toes, push back through tabletop, send the sit bones back and up, coming back into downward facing dog. And just find your downward dog. The right foot is still leading. So we're going to bring the right foot to the top of the mat, and it may come through with one step, it may need several steps, you may need to help it. Drop the left knee, untuck the toes, and we'll rise up again. Low lunge. And breathe. Hands to the mat, tuck the left toes and step that left foot forward to join the right, coming back into our deep forward fold, letting go. Generously bend the knees, lengthen through the spine, rise all the way back up to extended mountain. And release the arms back to mountain pose. Lovely. That was our variation of Sun Salutation C with the right leg leading. We're going to do it again, still nice and slowly, with the left leg leading. So start in your mountain. As you inhale, sweep the arms up, gentle back bend. As you exhale, deep forward fold, letting go, using a block if you wish, and be sure not to hold your breath. Then stepping the left foot back this time, dropping the knee and untucking the toe, and rising up to low lunge on the other side. And breathe, that's lovely. Hands to the mat, tuck the back toes, send the right foot back to join the left, coming into a plank, but again I encourage you to drop your knees into half plank. And we want positive torque that you've chosen to take a more restorative and gentler version. Keeping the elbows tucked in, shift forwards, lower to the mat. We're going to do our Cobra to half of where is comfortable. So hands under the shoulders. Inhale and lift. Exhale and lower. And this time, take the Cobra to where you feel you would like it today. Inhale and lift. Exhale and lower. Then push through the hands, tuck the toes, send the sit bones back and up, coming back into downward facing dog. And breathe here in your downward dog. Notice if it's sort of loosened up from the first downward dog of the day you did, and if it feels actually more comfortable this time. Left foot is still leading, so the left foot is going to step through. However it does that, drop the right knee and untuck the toes. You can stay low or you can rise up again with your low lunge, your choice. Everything is about choice. Release the hands to the mat, tuck the back toes and step that foot forward, coming back into letting go. What are you going to let go of today? And maybe this time rock a little side to side. Or just slightly straighten one leg then the other and notice the sensations. Then generously bend the knees, lengthen through the spine, and rise all the way up to extended mountain. And release the arms, coming to the long edge of the mat in your mountain pose, Tadasana. And just pause. Notice how you feel. Now in embodiment, mountain pose is also stand. It is taking a stand. Is there anything you are taking a stand for to look after you in your life? Not a mission or a cause elsewhere, but for loving kindness, for positive friendliness towards you. And feel how that is in your body. And breathe. Okay, we're just going to take some breaths here. Inhale, sweep the arms up, coming up onto the toes. Exhale and lower. And again, inhale up, coming onto the toes. The shed roof limits me. And exhale. And take one more. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale and lower. And just have a little shimmy, have a little shake, and just notice how you feel. Shaking it off. Okay, we are going to set up for Warrior 2, a Virabhadrasana 2. So step the legs out as wide as is right for you today. Maximum a leg and a half width. I'll mirror now so that if you're wondering why my rights and lefts have suddenly changed. So turn the left toes to the short edge of the mat and bring the right foot in a bit, just a little. But your hips are still kind of towards the long edge of the mat. Take your self-care pose here. Take that hug. Drop the head a little to the side. Now, anybody that knows me and my practices know that we always take a hug before a warrior. And then slowly as you inhale, sweep the arms down and then out, bending that left knee, coming into your Warrior 2 with your knee above your ankle. Kind of, it's okay if it's behind. Try not to let it drop in or out to the side. And release and come back to your hug. Maybe swap the arms around. And notice how it feels. Sweep out again to Warrior 2. And one more hug. Take the arms across the body. Back into your hug. And sweep out Warrior 2. If you wish, you can take your gaze to that left hand through the middle finger. And warrior pose in embodiment is indeed warrior. It's finding the strength of your inner warrior, which you actually need for self-love and kindness, for that friendliness and compassion, for that positive talk. You need to find the warrior within. We're going to reverse our warrior. So shift a little left, drop the right arm, turn the left palm and sweep it up. Only as far as is right for you. It might be just a little, it might be a little more. Making sure that upper shoulder doesn't drop in. And then come back. Warrior 2. Shift a little, drop, turn, and reverse. And come back. Warrior 2. One more. shift, drop, turn and reverse. And just notice what you feel where. And if you have to shift a bit differently so that it's comfortable, so that it feels better in your body today. As you inhale, lengthen a little through the fingertips. And as you exhale, soften. Inhale and lengthen. Exhale and soften. One more. Inhale and lengthen. Exhale and soften. And come back. Warrior two. Just straighten that leg a little and have a little wiggle, because actually you might find that your thigh is singing a little bit. And in fact, if you need to, you can just shake your legs a little and come back to it. I'm actually going to turn off my heater, if I can find the buttons, because I've warmed up. And then step the legs back out into the same position, with the left toes pointing out, right toes coming in a little bit. And come back into Warrior two. We're going to move into triangle, Trikanasana. So we're going to shift a little further, straighten that left leg and turn the body. It's rotating so that the left hand rests against the thigh or the lower leg and the right hand is towards the ceiling. And you are spiraling those ribs open. And it's okay if your Trikanasana is there, that's fine. You may wish a block if you reach right down. And then generously bend the knee and rise back up. Warrior two. Shift, straighten and turn. Lovely. Generously bend the knee and rise back up. Warrior two. One more. Shift. Straighten just as much as you want. It can stay bent. And turn. If you wish, take your gaze up to that upper hand. I am not going to do that. It's making me very dizzy when I do that. And just notice how that feels. And as you inhale, lengthen through the fingertips. And as you exhale, soften. Inhale and lengthen. Exhale and soften. One more breath. Then take that right hand all the way down to the mat. Place both hands on the mat either side of that left foot and turn, pivot on your back foot and drop the knee. You're coming back to a low lunge. It can be as wide a stance as you wish. You can bring your knee right in if you wish. You can take it further out, depending on what's right for your body today. And then just rise up a little and take the hands forward. And we are going to sweep with our right hand. So sweep up and out, turning the body towards the front. If that feels uncomfortable, you can just keep one hand on the mat and sweep out. Do whatever feels right for your body. Sweep back. And then the opposite hand, the left hand, sweep out. Sweep back. Lovely. Hands down to the mat. Tuck the back toes. Send that left foot back to join the right, coming back into a downward facing dog. And pedal the feet here. Maybe taking the feet wider into an easy dog. Not easy as in less difficult, but easy as in chilled out. Sending the sit bones high. And then walk the feet to the hands, coming back into letting go. Generously bend the knees, lengthen through the spine, and rise up, coming back to Tadasana. Now before we do that on the other side, we are going to step out with the feet parallel and reach out the arms in taking up space. And we're doing that to be seen to ourselves, to be kind and to be friendly and seen to ourselves. So bring the arms back in. You might want to turn your toes out a little if that's more comfortable. Bring the arms back in and push them out. And have that friendliness, that loving kindness to you. Release the arms. Step the feet in. And just pause. Notice how you feel. Notice your breath and your body. And let's take that to the other side. So, step the feet out. Turn the right toes to the short edge. Bring the left toes in a little. Take your hug. Give it a good squeeze. And then sweep out, warrior two. Take your hug again. And really feel that embrace and notice it rather than doing it, be it. And sweep out, warrior two. Be strong in that straight leg. One more hug. Arms in, swap sides if you've done the same sides of arms, one on top of the other the same way. And sweep out, warrior two. Notice your inner warrior now. And as you inhale, lengthen through the fingertips. And as you exhale, soften. Lengthen and soften. We're going to reverse again, so shift a little, drop, turn, and reverse, only as high as is right for you. Explore with that delicate curiosity, and come back, warrior two. Shift, drop, turn, and reverse. Come back, warrior two. One more, shift a little, drop, turn and reverse. And staying for a few breaths this time. Inhale and lengthen, and exhale and soften. Lengthen and soften. Lengthen and soften. And come back, warrior two. We have Trikanasana coming, so shift, straighten and rotate. Generously bend the knee, strong belly, rise up, warrior two. Shift. Straighten and turn. Noticing if it feels different from the other side. Generously bend the knee and rise up. Last one. Shift. Straighten and turn. See if you can find a little bit more length in your fingertips. Taking your gaze up if you wish. Finding the triangle that feels good in your body today. And breathe. And take that left hand, soften the knee, take that left hand all the way down to the mat. Both hands on the mat, pivot on the back foot, drop the knee. Untuck the toes if you wish. Coming into a low lunge with the hands forwards. So this time we're going to sweep the left hand first. So sweep and open up at the chest. And back. And the right hand, sweep and open up at the chest. And back. Hands to the mat. Tuck that back toe and step your right foot back to join it into your last downward facing dog, I think, of the day. Maybe taking the feet wider again. Maybe bend and stretch and wag the tail a little, noticing what feels good. And then walk the feet to the middle of the mat and the hands to the middle of the mat, coming back into your deep forward fold. Generously bend the knees and flatten the spine and rise up, coming back to Tadasana. Ooh, have a little shimmy and have a little shake. And grab a drink of water if you wish. I've got a little thirsty now. Pause and notice how you feel. Has your temperature shifted? Has the energy in your body shifted? Has the sensations of your breath, has that changed? Now we're going to have a little balance. We'll just have tree pose, not just tree. We will have tree pose. So shift the weight into the right foot, coming onto the toes in the left, and you are externally rotating that left leg. And then bring the heel to ankle. That's the first position for tree. If you want to go higher, please do. You can always stand against a wall if you need extra balance. Take the foot to the lower leg or to the upper leg, but just not the knee. Finding a drishti, a point to look at, and find your tree and visualize roots down into the earth in your tree. It's okay if you wobble. You might grow your branches. And just notice how that feels in your body, the strength in your tree. And release it. And just pause there and notice how it feels different on one side of the body compared to the other. And switch sides, shift the weight, rotate, find that rotation in the hip. Find your drishti. Find your tree. And one side is always wobblier than the other. So respect your body and try not to judge yourself or be unkind to yourself because of it. Grow your branches if you wish. And release. And step the feet out. And take up space again. See if it comes more easily this time. Bending the knees and taking up space. Pushing away those barriers, stretching out the arms. I am just as I am. I accept myself and I wish myself well in this moment. If your toes aren't turned out, turn them out already. Cactus the arms, maybe take a mudra and bend the knees. Perhaps take the hands flat. We are in a variation of goddess pose, an embodiment. This is support pose. Accepting support in your life where it's available and offered. Friendly support. Then release the hands, take them to the hips, straighten the legs, keep the knees soft. Take the feet forwards, soft knees. Hinge at the hips coming down. You might want to grab a block here. Hands at the centre and just hang in your wide-legged forward fold. And inhale and lengthen. Exhale and soften. Lovely. Inhale and lengthen. Exhale and soften. And either take your hands or your block over towards the left, near the left foot, and place your right hand on the block or by your foot. And as you inhale, take the left hand up and behind to your lower back. As you exhale, take it back down. Inhale, take it up and behind. Exhale down. Once more. Inhale, take it behind. And stay this time just for a couple of breaths. You'll find your gaze has wandered up towards that left shoulder or just below it, and that's fine. And bring it back down. Walk your hands or your block over to the other side. Left hand on the block. As you inhale, take the right hand up and behind. As you exhale, soften and lower. Inhale up and behind. Exhale, bring it back. One more. Inhale up and behind. And stay this time. Just for a couple of breaths. And bring it back down and bring the block or your hands back to center. And maybe bend and stretch just a little side to side. And then walk the feet in, but not all the way in. Maybe double hip width and point the toes out. And if you haven't got a block or a cushion, grab it. And you may want to have it just behind you. We're going to lower down into Malasana, Yogi squat. So generously bend the knees. Sink the hips down to the mat. Now, if your heels are off the mat, there are several things you can do. You can sit on your block or cushion. You can put cushions or blankets rolled up under your heels, or if you're comfortable in yogi squat, you can just let your feet sit flat. But if you're on your toes, definitely sit on the block or a cushion or put something under them. Lift through the chest. Inhale and lengthen, and when using your elbows just to put a little bit of pressure on the inner thighs. And breathe. In children's yoga, this is frog pose. So we usually have to ribbit, ribbit, ribbit. Sometimes we do flower breath, but I'm saving that for this afternoon. Then take the hands behind, lower the hips to the mat. Take the feet flat and the hands behind. And most of you know this is boat ready. So for boat pose, Navasana, take the feet up. Take the hands next to them. You can stay here, or you can straighten the legs. Bend them. Or you can go low boat and high boat. And it's okay if you wobble or tipple right over. Low boat to high boat. One more. Low boat to high boat. And then just lower down to the mat on your back into Apanasana with your knees into your chest, and just have a little bit of a rock side to side and enjoy that sensation on the mat. We're going to have some cow face legs here, so take the left foot flat to the mat and cross the right leg over the left, crossing the legs tightly. And then lift the lower foot off the mat, taking both feet a bit higher, and take hold of each foot. So the feet are pointing out to the sides and the knees sort of look like they're on top of each other. And just notice the sensations that generates. You can't do it wrong, so we'll have no negative talk. And release. Take the feet flat and just windshield wiper them a little. And swap sides. Right foot to the mat, left foot over and squeeze. Feet out to the sides. And notice the opposite. Hip sensation. Juicy. And release and windshield wiper. And we're going to take another twist here. So bring the knees into the chest and just let them drop over to the left side. And take the arms out in front, one on top of the other. And let that upper hand, which is my right hand, sweep over the legs, pointing towards the bottom of the mat, coming all the way around. And as you come across the mat, pause with your arms stretched out, letting your right shoulder sink to the mat. And then lift the hand and let it continue its journey back to where it began. And take it in the opposite direction. Lift. And take it all the way round. Pausing in that T position. Then lift. And let it finish its journey, starting again at the beginning. Push back to center. You might need to readjust yourself. Knees back into the chest and let them drop over to the right side. Arms out in front. Lift the left hand. Let it trail around above the body as though your fingers are running through water. And notice your body unfold as your arm stretches out, pausing in that outstretched position. Lift it again. Let the hand continue its journey back to join the other. Then lift it and let it go in the reverse direction. All the way around. Pausing in that T position. Then lift it. Let it continue its journey all the way back to where it began. Push back to center. Just readjust and bring the knees back into the chest. Just taking a few movements side to side. And then take the feet flat to the mat so that your knees are bent. Your feet are as close to the hips as you can. Arms down by your sides. We're going to have a dynamic bridge here. So inhale, sweep both arms up and over as you lift the hips. Exhale, bring them back. Inhale, sweep up and over. Exhale, bring them back. Inhale up and over. And hold this time, keeping the hips in the air if you wish. You can bring your arms back down. You can even kind of scooch your shoulder blades together and take your hands under your hips, interlacing the fingers, lifting through the hips. And then release down to the mat. Bring the knees back into the chest. And just rock a little bit, side to side. Take any final stretches or movements you wish. And then stretch out your legs into Shavasana, pulling a blanket over you. I'm going to sit up, but I'd like you to stay lying down. Pulling a blanket over you, if you wish, just so that you're warm enough for relaxation. Relaxation allows for integration of the work that your brain has done. It is just as important as all of the movement. And sometimes it's the part that people skip. And it's the part that your body needs with that loving kindness. So, have your wiggles and squiggles, socks, blankets and layers. Cushions as you need, and settle down for Shavasana. And first take your attention to your breath and notice how it feels. Notice if it's slowing a little after the work that you've done. Notice the inhale. And the slight pause at the end of the inhale just before it tips into the exhale. and the slight gap at the end of the exhale before it leads you back into the inhale. Breathing in and breathing out. Notice your feet. Notice your toes and spread them a little, putting a little bit of muscular effort into your feet. Notice the sensation of that effort and then relax them. Relax your feet. Notice your calf muscles and the shins, and see if you can tense the lower leg muscles, contracting them, bringing effort to them, and then release them. Notice the knees and the thighs. Bring in a little bit of muscular effort, tensing them and contracting them. And then relax and release. And then your buttocks, the gluteal muscles, bringing tension, muscular contraction, and then relax them and release them. And arch your lower back a little more, noticing the sensation of a little bit of muscular effort there. Then relax them and release those muscles. Contract the belly a little, bringing tension, effort through the abdominal area, and then relax and release, letting the tension go. Notice across your upper back and shoulders, and bring any tension or muscular effort there. Just a little. Then relax and release. Spread your fingers wide, inviting tension and contraction of muscles through the hands. Then relax and release them. Take your hands into fists and bring tension in the hands and the lower arms. Then relax them and release. Take your whole arm right up to the shoulder. Introduce that muscular effort and contraction. Then release and relax. Focus on your neck and head. Maybe lift your head a tiny amount. Just introducing that muscular effort. And then release it. And relax. Bring tension to your face, your eyes, your cheeks, your jaw, your mouth. That muscular effort. And then relax. And then together, the feet and the hands, the arms and the legs, the face, the whole body, just that little bit of tension, and sink into release and relaxation. And allow your body to rest here just for a little while. Now gently wiggle your toes and gently wiggle your fingers. Gently rock your feet from side to side and your hands, bringing that little bit of movement to your arms and to your legs. Reach your arms overhead if you wish and come into a full body stretch. Perhaps bring your knees into your chest. Rocking side to side once again. Then maybe roll onto one side, maybe onto your right side, giving extra space in your chest for your heart. And slowly, as you're ready, gently push back to a seated position to where we began, but keeping the gaze soft. Maybe take one hand to your heart and one to your belly again. Remember that loving kindness and friendliness to self. Kind words to self. Gentleness and curiosity with self. Notice your breath and notice your body. And take a big inhale through the nose and let it go out through the mouth. And again, inhale and out. And one more. Release your hands. Open your eyes. I'm going to pause the recording and speak to the Zoomies and see you all after a lunch break.